Down tomorrow, though, and that's going to cause us some significant problems. Falling temperatures during the afternoon. Not too much snow, though.
Okay, I'm glad to hear about the not too much snow.
Chilly's enough, I guess. All right. Well, thank you for being with us. That's our report.
We'll be back tonight at 10. Good night.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We've heard a good deal in the last few days about a place called Forsyth County, Georgia. There was a lot of racial tension there over the weekend, which struck a nerve in many people in the South and elsewhere in the country. Now the federal government is becoming involved. The Justice Department has asked the FBI to investigate whether civil rights have been violated. Here's ABC's Dennis Chuck.
When an estimated 75 marchers walked together last Sunday in Georgia's Forsyth County to protest the all-white county's years of segregation, the Ku Klux Klan was there with a counter-demonstration that ended in violence. When it was over, 8 people had been arrested and a handful injured. Today, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Chief ordered the FBI to investigate the incident for federal civil rights violations. The Bureau will try to learn whether there was a conspiracy to deprive the marchers of their rights to free speech and assembly. Meanwhile, the furor in Forsyth and elsewhere in Georgia continues. The Forsyth Town Council has met to discuss marches planned for this weekend.
State police and the governor's office are meeting as well to try to prevent more violence when black civil rights leaders Coretta Scott King and Reverend Jesse Jackson hold another march in Forsyth this weekend. Justice Department officials say they hope the entry of the FBI into this case will help to defuse the situation, but they're not at all certain that it can. Peter?
Thank you very much, Dennis. We have a story tonight that's going to tell you how much pressure can be exerted on smokers. It also has to do with how much of your life your employers can affect. Hundreds of workers in 7 states at a private company based in Chicago have told today they had a choice: stop smoking on the job or even at home, or work someplace else. Here's ABC's Jerry King.
These workers have been given an ultimatum: quit smoking or get fired. It's more than just having a smokeless workplace. They'll lose their jobs even if they light up at home away from fellow workers. Those who now smoke will participate in organized programs designed to help them kick the habit.
When we teach people to stop smoking, we teach them to be comfortable as non-smokers for good. There's no such thing as smoking a little bit.
The order came from U.S. Gypsum's corporate headquarters here in Chicago and has raised all kinds of medical and legal questions and a decidedly mixed reaction.
The issue is freedom, period.
I don't think it's fair.
Why?
Because it's not giving people their freedom.
Well, being a non-smoker myself, I'm all for it. I think it's great.
The company plans weekly pulmonary function tests it says will determine whether employees are smoking privately. But one expert in the field doubts the validity of the tests, and the program naturally is opposed by the tobacco industry. The company says as long as it applies to the no-smoking ultimatum across the board without discriminating against any group of workers, the plan complies with federal and state laws. 2,000 workers are involved. Based on the national average, some 600 are probably smokers. Company officials did not respond to repeated requests for an interview, but it's believed they based their ultimatum on economic as well as medical grounds. Statistics show non-smokers miss fewer workdays than smokers. Jerry King, ABC News, Chicago.
Well, there's quite a lot to this story, and a little while ago we talked about what this might mean in the future with Eleanor Holmes Norton. She is a professor of law, and she's the former head of the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission. Professor Norton, from your point of view, and from a strictly legal point of view, can a company do this and get away with it?
There's probably no statute that could be enforced at the moment, and there's nothing in our law that keeps a company from doing almost anything it wants to do if it is a private company and it's dealing with its own employees on the job.
There is, as you know, something of an anti-smoking attitude in the country. If this company were banning something else like chewing gum, would there be as little reaction as there is when it's smoking?
Probably not, and we ought to be careful about that. This may have its genesis in the concern with drugs. How far do we want to let the employer go? Do we want employers to become Big Brother when we've said we never will allow government to become Big Brother?
from a legal point of view, this company can be as big brotherish as it wants.
At the moment, because an employer, as a quid pro quo for giving you a job, can say, if you want to work here, you must abide by our rules, and these are part of our rules.
Thank you very much. Later in this broadcast, questions about the Contras and drugs. Are drugs being sold for weapons? We'll have a report on monkeys helping the handicapped and Super Bowl hysteria. One player who can't get quite enough of it.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by the exciting world of Carnival Cruise Lines.
In the morning, in the evening, hey, we got fun. You know, when you take a Carnival cruise, all your shipboard fun is included in the price. All your nighttime entertainment's included. All your food's included, too. Plus, fantastic tropical ports of call. And you know what all this costs? A lot less than you think. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
When it's cold and rough outside, try something warm and creamy inside. Cream of wheat hot cereal and instant mix and eat. Their smooth texture always lets the flavor come through. 2 great ways to come in from the cold.
We have a report on political choices tonight. The Republicans have picked a southern city for their '88 convention. We have asked members of the Republican National Committee their presidential preference in 1988, and we've also asked the same of Republican voters. Here's ABC's Bill Greenwood.
The large seating capacity of the Superdome was a major factor in the selection of New Orleans, which beat out Atlanta and Kansas City after agreeing to withdraw an invitation to also host the Democratic Convention. Republican leaders were anxious to meet in the Southern Democratic stronghold, but weren't about to play second fiddle.
If you're the second convention that comes in, many of us felt that you lose that little edge of volunteer work and so forth necessary to have a successful convention.
For the convention held today, an ABC News poll of Republican National Committee members found that most party pros believe Vice President Bush would make the strongest candidate. Senate Republican leader Bob Dole was a distant second. A separate ABC News Washington Post poll completed last night shows Republican voters generally favor Vice President Bush over other contenders, but he's fallen 23% since the last poll in May. Voters blame the Iran-Contra scandal. And if the general election was held today, Vice President Bush and Senator Dole would both lose in a presidential contest with Democrat Gary Hart. But if New York Governor Mario Cuomo is the Democratic nominee, either Bush or Dole would narrowly win. Of course, all the candidates have a year and 10 months to change that. Bill Greenwood, ABC News, Washington.
This is not a piece of earth-shaking political news by any means, but Patrick Buchanan, the president's communications director, said today that he, Buchanan, is not going to run for the presidency. And another piece of headline news from the Senate itself, the Republican conservative Jesse Helms has won out over the more moderate Republican Richard Lugar, and Helms will now be the ranking member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Members say that Helms won primarily because he has been around longer. President Reagan is about to butt heads with the new Congress on an issue they have fought over before. Tomorrow, the Senate is expected to pass the Clean Water Bill. The bill would cover all 50 states, providing $20 billion through the mid-1990s, primarily to build and refurbish water treatment plants. Congress passed the bill last year, but the president vetoed it. Now the new Congress is primed to pass it again. ABC's Barry Seraphin has one example of what some of its money will be used for.
This is the postcard view of Boston Harbor. This is Boston Harbor close up. The water here is so polluted that in the summertime, swimmers are warned away from beaches. Throughout the year, dozens of drain pipes empty billions of gallons of raw sewage directly into the harbor.
My statistics indicate that it's probably the most polluted body of water in North America.
A display at Boston's New England Aquarium graphically makes the point. In this tank, harbor water as it once was. In another, as it is now, murky and littered.
There's a bottle room full
Yes, you know what that's from? It's from people who don't take care of the ocean and do what they're supposed to do and throw it in the right place.
Across the harbor, the Deer Island Sewage Treatment Plant, one of 2 antiquated facilities serving the metropolitan area. Some sludge is separated out, but there's no secondary treatment, so water still contaminated with chemicals and metals and other pollutants is pumped back into the harbor. The bill before Congress would provide $100 million to modernize the plant and perhaps another $300 million through grants to the state. Even that just a fraction of the cost of the harbor cleanup. There has been remarkable bipartisan support for the legislation to combat problems like those of Boston Harbor, but that support does not extend to the White House. The House last fall approved the Clean Water Act without a single dissenting vote.
Yeas are 408, the nays are 0.
So did the Senate.
The vote, 96 aye, 0 no.
But when Congress adjourned, President Reagan vetoed the bill. In a radio address this month, he called it too expensive, a budget buster.
I'm in favor of clean water, but the only thing clean in this bill is its name. It spends billions more than is needed.
Now, though, members of the president's own party are predicting the bill will pass easily again. And they say if there's another veto, Mr. Reagan will lose.
But I expect if it comes down to that the House and Senate both will override the veto by quite substantial margins.
In short, supporters of the bill say Mr. Reagan has picked a fight he cannot win. And it appears likely that despite White House objections, this community and others across the country will get $20 billion worth of help in cleaning up their water. Barry Saraf, ABC News, Boston.
One other story about the Reagan administration and legislation. The administration today began to define how it plans to enforce the landmark immigration law, which was passed last year. Included would be a requirement that everyone who applies for a job be required to prove they are not an illegal alien. That would be done showing a valid passport, a driver's license, or a birth certificate within 24 hours of being hired. Employers who do hire people without the proper documentation could be fined. We'll be back in just a minute with a story on the Contras and Drugs.
Troubled by bad breath, hiding your face in shame because nothing seems to work? Then naturally you need a Milk-Bone dog biscuit. Every delicious crunch of Milk-Bone helps scrape away plaque and food particles that can lead to bad breath. In fact, no other leading dog biscuit gets your teeth naturally cleaner and whiter or your breath fresher. Get Milk-Bone dog biscuits because naturally every dog wants fresher breath.
The top quality cars and trucks on the road today.
You know, for my money, all the quality claims from here to Tokyo and back again can't stand up to 6 simple words. 5 years or 50,000 miles. That's the warranty you get when you buy any car or truck built by Chrysler. With some other car makers, after 2 or 3 years, it's so long, auf Wiedersehen or sayonara. Which makes you wonder, how much confidence do those guys really have in the quality they're talking about? At Chrysler, we've backed over 5 million engines, over 5 million powertrains, over 5 million car and truck bodies with 550 protection. If they fail or fall apart, we fall on our faces. But something is holding us up. Quality. So the next time you hear somebody talking quality, take a look at his warranty, then take a look at ours. To me, it's simple. If you're looking for who builds them best, take a look at who backs them best.
And now the Iran arms scandal. President Reagan's special assistant who worries about the Iran affair, David Abshire, was on Capitol Hill today. He said the president will meet soon with the Tower Commission, which is investigating the National Security Council's conduct. Abshire said the administration is not holding back from government investigations. There are new reports today that flight crews, that Mr. Abshire's for the last story.
The administration is trying.
There are reports today, as we said, that flight crews secretly delivering arms to Nicaragua's Contra rebels were also involved in smuggling drugs into this country. As ABC's John Martin reports, there are a lot of questions about who really was involved and why.
2 men in jail in Miami awaiting trial. An air charter company owner and one of his pilots say some Contras sold drugs for weapons. The pilot, Gary Betzner, is a confessed convicted drug smuggler. In a statement, he said he made 3 drug deliveries for men his boss told him were Contra officers, backed by U.S. agents.
I do not deny that as a pilot I smuggle my share of illegal substance, but by the same token I also smuggle my share of weapons in exchange for those illegal substances, with the full knowledge and assistance of both the DEA and CIA.
The DEA today called Betzner's charge outrageous nonsense. The CIA called it untrue and said had it discovered such smuggling, it would have reported it. But a senior government official said that for a time the CIA did not report some drug deals that may have involved Contras and pilots. Betzner says that in 1983 he flew weapons from Florida to El Salvador and drugs from Colombia to the Bahamas on the way back. In 1984, he says, he flew twice from Florida to Costa Rica and back. Each time, he says, he carried weapons south and drugs north.
We're going to prove that I've been working with them, that I've been helping the Contras.
Accused smuggler George Morales claims some Contra leaders profited from drug transactions, but does not say who. Investigators suspect he and Betzner are lying to avoid long prison terms. The DEA, meanwhile, denies it has evidence of smuggling by Contras or crews. One report said a Contra crewman tried to squelch a DEA investigation by dropping Oliver North's name. But the DEA says it hasn't been investigating Contra smugglers and hasn't been told not to investigate them. One question tonight, of course, is whether Betzner and Morales were Contra pilots who sold drugs for weapons, or perhaps ordinary criminals trying to pin their crime on somebody else. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
The administration is going to confirm today for the first time that the American hostage in Lebanon, William Buckley, is really dead. Vice President Bush will refer to Buckley's death while in the hands of Lebanese terrorists during a speech the Vice President is going to make in Washington tonight. And in another sign, perhaps a hopeful one for the remaining hostages, the Church of England envoy Terry Waite abruptly canceled his plans to return to London from Beirut today after a meeting a second time with Shiite Muslims who are holding American hostages now. Waite would only say the decision to delay his departure was, as he put it, necessitated by developments. From Beirut to Afghanistan. For the past week, ABC's Walter Rogers has been reporting from Afghanistan. Today, he conducted an exclusive interview with the leader of Afghanistan's Soviet-backed government.
Dr. Najibullah blamed the United States government, not the Soviets, for the continuing war in Afghanistan, and he appealed to Americans to stop shipping weapons to Afghan guerrillas.
I would like to request from the noble and peace-loving people of the United States of America that they should exert pressure on the Reagan administration.
And he disputed suggestions in the West that his government could not survive if Soviet troops were not here to prop it up.
If there exists such a notion in the West, as if the people's power in Afghanistan does not have the might, the power to defend itself, it is completely baseless.
The Afghan leader skirted the question of violations of the government's 5-day-old ceasefire. He also repeated there is an agreed-upon timetable for Soviet troop withdrawals. But despite Moscow's talk of getting out of Afghanistan soon, Dr. Najibullah set the same conditions for a Soviet pullout that have blocked earlier political settlements here. In fact, the Afghan leader suggested the Russians could be here for a very long time, saying they will remain as long as the guerrillas keep fighting. Walter Rogers, ABC News, Kabul.
Still overseas, it sounded early today as if the Swedish police were on to someone connected with the murder of the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme almost a year ago. 20 people were rounded up in Stockholm, many of them Kurds. By the end of the day, the police said that all of them would be released for lack of evidence. When we come back, Getting My, with a little help from a friend.
Dad, send the money by noon. You won't be coming to my graduation in June.
Send the money today, or your father and I couldn't be washed away. Darling, I've run into a little trouble. Could you send $150 on the double?
To send someone money fast, come to Western Union. We'll make sure it gets to any of our 9,000 locations, usually in 15 minutes or less.
That's okay. I'll get the door.
Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
Back when this old tractor and I were kids, Pennzoil came in a can, and 5W30 and 10W30 motor oils didn't even exist. Now, they are recommended not only by GM, Ford, and Chrysler, but by Nissan, Toyota, and Honda for their small engines. Use Pennzoil 5W30 for winter 10W30 for summer. For small engine protection, my old pal and I recommend it.
Pennzoil, the standard of protection since 1889.
Dad's a bad mommy. Daddy's coughing like crazy.
Oh, you sound awful.
Give him my cough medicine.
Honey, Daddy needs something stronger than that.
When the strong cough comes on, adults need a strong medicine to help turn it off. Vicks Formula 44, the only liquid cough medicines with the maximum strength cough suppressant adults need in every formula for the relief adults want.
Dad, let's go, Dad.
It takes a strong medicine to help turn a strong cough off. From Vicks, of course.
Staying fit takes two kinds of exercise. Exercise for your outside and exercise for your inside with Kellogg's Bran Flakes. Kellogg's Bran Flakes are loaded with fiber to exercise your insides as only fiber can. Plus, Kellogg's is the only Bran Flakes that gives you a full day's supply of iron in each delicious bowlful. So if you plan to stay fit, don't just go halfway. Get Kellogg's Bran Flakes. They help keep you fit inside.
We have medical news this evening which is embodied in the story of a single person. Susan Strong is a quadriplegic. That is to say, she cannot use her arms or her legs. She is one of many thousand quadriplegics in the country, but she is also part of a smaller group that has been partially liberated. ABC's George Strait has been to visit her.
15 years ago, when she was 22, Susan Strong dreamed of creating love stories on canvas. A budding artist, Sue and her boyfriend headed west from New York in 1971 to start a new life. But an accident on that trip left her pretty much like she is today, paralyzed from the neck down.
It's a mind-boggling situation, to say the least, when you find out you can't do anything for yourself.
Sue dreamed of liberation, and 4 years ago it came in the most unusual of forms. 4 legs, a furry tail, and a face that Sue says only a mother could love. Henrietta, Henry to her friends. A 6-pound capuchin monkey, the kind organ grinders used to have. Henry is part-time pet and full-time helper.
She fetches cassettes and puts them in a recorder. Good girl.
Henry gets her books and turns the page. A small reward, and Henry will do almost anything.
She fetches prepared juices and sandwiches, so I can not feel like I'm in jail when I'm by myself. Straw? Straw, come on.
They can do other things, opening doors, turning on lights, turning on a heating system.
Dr. M.J. Willard trained Henry. Her newest pupil is Christy.
Christy, etch.
Good girl.
After 8 years of experimentation, Dr. Willard has proven that monkeys can do for quadriplegics what guide dogs do for the blind. But monkeys only seem appropriate for 10% of the nation's 90,000 quadriplegics, and they don't preclude the need for human help to care for both the patient and the monkey.
Straw.
Good girl. As far as life in the apartment goes, I'm about as free as I could possibly be without actually being totally cured.
Besides freedom, Henry meets 2 other basic needs for Sue: the need to love and the need to be needed.
She gave me a feeling of responsibility that I hadn't known before, in that I was responsible for her health and well-being, almost in the same way that she was responsible for my well-being.
Susan Strong never got a chance to create love stories on canvas, but now with a little help, she's living one. George Strait, ABC News, New York.
In tonight's Money Matters, the Wall Street rally. The Dow Jones Industrials managed to squeak out a gain of just under 2 points today, and the trading continued to be very heavy. When we come back, the Super Bowl, a lot of hype there.
Baby, we're gonna baby you. Kleenex introduces their brand new baby. Softer, thicker Kleenex tissue. We're gonna cuddle you, cradle you. New Kleenex will baby you because it's so much softer and thicker, even the box is taller. Baby, we're gonna care for you, comfort you, baby you. Softer, thicker Kleenex tissue. It's the new way.
Kleenex says bless you.
Hey, check
Chicken, how you feeling? Look, I brought you something to make you feel better. It's a great get-well gift from FTD. Comes in this reusable chicken soup bowl. Oops, said the FTD chicken soup bowl bouquet.
Why is my antacid Tums? Tums is effective. It neutralizes 1/3 more stomach acid than the other leading brand. And Tums is rich in calcium. To me, that's extra good news.
Dad?
Julie, look at your hay fever.
Oh, she hasn't had a sniffle all day. And I'm ready to dance all night.
Thanks to research by Dow's pharmaceutical subsidiary, millions like Julie may now find relief from allergies without the drowsiness often associated with allergy treatments.
You can make a difference in what tomorrow brings.
Save me a dance.
'Cause Dow makes you do great things.
Tonight on Nightline, for the first time, a crucial White House insider in the Iran arms story is willing to tell all. Our guest, former White House National Security Advisor, Robert McFarlane.
Well, the competition has finally been established for the America's Cup Finals off Western Australia. Today, the end of the elimination round among the Australian yachts, and Kookaburra will defend the cup. A kookaburra, in case you wondered, is a bright-colored Australian bird about the size of a crow. And the Kookaburra yacht will, of course, race the American Stars and Stripes beginning at the end of the month. There will be the inevitable build-up, the U.S. versus Australia and all that, but it'll probably be nothing like the hype for Super Bowl 21. This Sunday, the Giants against the Broncos. Today was Media Day. ABC's Dick Schaap was part of the crunch.
It is Picture Day. The madness has begun. 2,500 members of the media and 45 players to a team. Giants and Broncos, a ratio of 55-1. The players caught in a crunch of questions, pointed and pointless.
Is it an honor to be traded for an 11th round draft choice as you were this year?
Honor schmonor. I'm here. I don't care how I got here. Some of the players hate the interviews. Some tolerate them. Some thrive on them. Phil McConkey of the New York Giants thrives on them. McConkey is a safe bet to be a star of Super Bowl 21, a media star. His story is irresistible. Naval Academy graduate, helicopter pilot, 5 years of active duty, a professional walk-on, discarded by the Giants at the start of this season, then reacquired from Green Bay to play an important role in the surge to the Super Bowl. As punt returner and wide receiver, a gutsy cheerleader who loves exposure. Of course I enjoy it. Why shouldn't I enjoy it? It's my personality. McConkey enjoys exposure so much, he's writing a Super Bowl column for the New York Post while appearing in a commercial for the New York Daily News.
Daily News Source! Yeah!
Today, McConkey owned Picture Day.
Oh, well, this is really Phil McConkey Day. I mean, this has nothing to do with the New York Giants or any other press. I mean, we've done this for Phil McConkey.
He has a hard time getting along with the media, but for some reason he's put a good face on and fooled a lot of people.
Remember the name. It's McConkey. You'll be hearing it a lot this week. Dick Schaap, ABC News, Costa Mesa, California.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Later tonight on Nightline, he's been called an ex-Marine who prefers action to pencil pushing. His role in the Iran affair is crucial. Ted Koppel talks with Robert McFarlane tonight on Nightline. From ABC, this has been World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Imagine a country without freedom.
It's the process of getting rid of all those shackles that are holding you down, getting rid of oppression, subjugation, and dispossession.
Imagine a country called America.
One day, many years ago...
Taste this. Chocolate and peanut butter.
Hey, it's great together. You know who'd like this?
Noah. You mean the guy building the ark?
Yeah, because he loves chocolate and he loves peanut butter.
Let's bring him some. As soon as it stops raining.
And so the world would have to wait for the two great tastes that taste great together in Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Ever feel like you just can't face another boring burger?
No more burgers.
Turpin, come on in here. We'll get something else for lunch.
If you're tired of burgers, hop into Taco Bell for a taco salad. Fresh vegetables, seasoned ground beef, and real cheddar. You may never have another burger as long as you live.